Where have I been for 2 months? Hi everyone, not really something I wanted to make. As you can probably guess from the title, I have had a bit of an accident. Recently during the filming of Gladiators, I suffered a injury to my shoulder. Basically what I've done is I've slap-teared my labrum and dislocated my shoulder as well. Wasn't fun. It was a complete freak accident. It was a very unique movement, you know, you don't normally do as a person. And yeah, I just believe it was a complete freak injury. Obviously that happening during the time of filming isn't ideal, and it's really frustrating because I felt like I had been working the hardest I'd ever worked. I was in the best shape of my life. I'd felt the healthiest I'd ever felt. I was moving like I'd never moved before, and I know all of that will come back. It is just a matter of time. But for now, I'm sat on the sidelines, unfortunately. This was just the start of the few issues that I had since the injury, you know? There's a really loud plane going past. Can you be quiet? Thanks. Following my injury, I went to get a scan literally the day after. I had to wait like 24 hours for the results, and it was quite clear that there was a tear there. A few days later, I went to see a surgeon called Neil in Manchester, where we basically looked at the scans themselves, and he had his eyes on them. And he's obviously an expert, right? He's going to know exactly what I've done. We looked at the scan and it was pretty clear and obvious that I was going to need surgery, because obviously what I do in my life, there's a lot of unique movements, so to speak. Basically, he put it to me like this: there was a strong possibility that I would do it again if I didn't get surgery. He said as high as 85 to 90%. So that left me with, you know, a pretty obvious decision with what I do, that I was gonna have to get the surgery. When we looked at the scans, he basically said it was, if you imagine like a clock, the tear was from 12 till 6. I've done a pretty good job on it, to be honest. So once that was established, I was booked in for surgery literally like a couple of days later. I had surgery, I think less than a week after I had initially hurt myself, which is a really quick turnaround, to be fair. Surgery is something I've done before. I've had 3 surgeries previously. At this point, I was pretty calm, I was pretty composed, and I was pretty certain, you know, that I was going to be following a very standard protocol when it came to the surgery. And this is where a couple of issues started. So I went in for my surgery as normal. Everything was as it should be. It was fine. Into my hospital bed, into my ludicrous gown that you'll see right now. And I went in for my surgery, literally totally fine. Felt sweet. Next thing I knew, I woke up and it was all done. Obviously the medication that I'm on was sending me a little bit loopy. I didn't feel sick. I literally felt completely fine. Obviously one half of my body was numb due to the surgery. After I returned to planet Earth, the surgeon came in and he basically gave me some pointers about the surgery and stuff. So he came in and he said that the tear was bigger than he anticipated. The surgery lasted for around 4 hours instead of like the standard, I think it's 90 minutes that it should be. He then said he had to use 8 anchors instead of 3 to attach my shoulder together, basically. And also he said that one of the drills broke inside me, which is wild. He said that's never happened in his 20 years of doing surgery on people. Basically said he's not seen bones as dense as mine. You got to take the wins where you can, right? So obviously I was like, oh wow. I'm not to know any different, do you know what I mean? I'm still laid there, I feel okay. I was like, all right, sweet. This is where I underestimated how painful it would be afterwards. The nurses said that it is a painful surgery, and obviously mine's gone on quite long. Mine's gone on for a while, and there's a lot of anchors in there and stuff. And I kind of brushed it off to the side a little bit. I didn't anticipate how bad the pain would be afterwards. So I'm lying there chilling out. I'm like, basically just want to go home at this point. I had a drink, had some food, felt fine. They wouldn't let me go until I went to the toilet, so I was like, sweet, just get out of the way. I went to stand up, and you know when you get pins and needles in your feet, feel all the blood rush down to your feet sort of thing, and then it goes away. I was laid in the bed and I was like, ooh, I've got some pins and needles. And I had a calf pump on, obviously, to keep my blood circulating. Which was over my compression socks. So I've stood up and I felt pretty numb from around the knee, about here downwards. I couldn't really feel a lot, and I sort of like limped to the toilet, kind of expecting the pins and needles to go, but they didn't. So when I came back, I was sort of just trying to like walk around sort of thing. So I decided to lay back down basically after a while of walking around, because I was pretty tired. I had another little bit of a sleep, and when I woke up, the numbness in my legs was significantly worse. I basically couldn't really feel a thing from the knee downwards. Like, I could walk very, very slowly, but I couldn't feel a thing. And obviously at the time, this is not something that was really meant to be happening. So I got pretty scared, right? I was kind of panicking. I'm still on medication and stuff like that, and it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I was reassured by the surgeon, the nurses, and the people around me that this feeling would go, and I was just in a total panic. Like, normally I'm quite composed and level-headed and stuff like that. I was just so upset when I couldn't feel anything, basically. We're not sure why it happened. It could have been the compression socks. It could have been the amount of time that I was laid there with the calf pump on me. I'm not 100% sure. So I was in the hospital until about 11 p.m. It's a same day discharge, the operation that I had. I was meant to leave at between 4 and 6, and I was still there at 11 because of the concern with my legs, sort of thing. In the end, we decided to get a hotel and stay overnight. Obviously Lauren was with me, helping me, as I was completely useless. I kind of just had to believe what everyone was saying, that it was going to be fine and it'll go in a few days and stuff like that. So we got to the hotel and slept there for the night. When I say slept, I didn't sleep. I was sat up, just numb. It got to around 3 to 4 a.m. and the numbness started to wear off in the left side of my body. The pain I was in was way more than I anticipated. I was literally wincing. I feel like I've got a pretty high pain threshold, right? And I just could not bear the pain that was going through my arm. I was literally just sat wincing. I woke Lauren up pretty early and said, can we just get home? Because when you want the comfort of your own house and stuff like that. So we drove home, the worst 2-hour drive ever. Bearing in mind, I can hardly walk. So it's the next day and my legs are even worse than the day before. I'll try and put some footage in now that you'll see of me trying to walk. This was literally 2 to 3 days after surgery, I think. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I feel okay. I'm still in a lot of pain, it's still aching, nowhere near as bad as it was. And most importantly, the most relieving thing to me is my legs are getting back to normal again. It's been a really hard 2 to 3 weeks, to be fair. Probably one of the hardest that I can remember in a long time. A lot of mental worry and mental fatigue as well, to be honest. Literally all I wanted to do was to feel my legs again. And as soon as I started to feel tingles and stuff, the relief that went through me was I felt like celebrating. Injuries are a part of life, especially when you do what I do. I'm starting to get back in the gym and stuff, and I've actually just started rehab in the last couple of days. So I'm literally going to be putting everything into that from now. It's been a tough ride, but I'll be back stronger than ever. Every effort is going into this, and I know that I'll be back quicker than the standard time. I always come back quicker. It's also really hard losing a crazy amount of muscle in a couple of weeks. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a small child right now. This arm has just totally disintegrated from being in the best shape of my life literally 4 weeks ago to this. It's quite hard to get your head around, sort of thing. I'm positive, and we're going to get this rehab smashed and get this arm moving again. We've just got to take our time and not rush it, and just follow my physio's orders. The next video I'll show you my first rehab session, and you'll see the little movement that I will probably have. Everything just feels really stiff right now. But there we go. If you're still here listening to me blabble, thank you. I appreciate it, and I just want to say a massive thank you for all the messages I've received on Instagram and TikTok and everything like that. A massive thank you to the Glads and production as well, and the medical team who've looked after me so well to get me to this point where I am now after a few scares. Yeah, everyone's been amazing. Onwards and upwards. Next time you see me will be with my physio James, and we will see how we get on there. So thank you very much. See you soon.